us a little bit about stem cells. So hopefully we're all on a similar page. So let's have a little look at stem cell tourism and what is some of the hype. So stem cell tourism is a formal definition. It's when a person travels to another country to buy stem cell treatments that are unavailable to them at home. And people do this for all sorts of reasons, and of course parents do this for their children because they're compassionately driven to try everything they can for their child. Patients do it for themselves because they want to actually leave no stone unturned about what might be the right treatment. It's important though that we understand, as well as the potential benefits, there are also effects from these buying cells like this, and there are risks from buying these cells. So a very important ethicist in Canada, Tim Caulfield, has coined this term called science hype. And what he means by this is that the media talks so much about stem cells, and there are so many websites that look like they're selling legitimate treatments, that it feels like to us that these things are normal. They're available treatments, they're out there ready, and I just can't get a hold of them. I can't find the right person, and they're already available. It's sort of normalised that these cells, for the large part, are still in research. There are those 3 proven indications for leukemia, bone marrow, and skin and burn grafts that I talked about, but otherwise they're still at research. And it's normalised the feeling about it for the public. The next thing is that it's important to kind of say it's easy for us to forget or not even understand, if you don't work in clinical research, just how long it takes to get something from an idea to an effective treatment. Now this is the timeline of bone marrow, which is the most effective stem cell treatment we have. It was identified in the 60s as an option. And it took 20 years before it became the cure and then the standard of care for lymphoma and other conditions, and looking at sickle cell and other applications. But many patients who volunteered to participate in these research studies very sadly died in this time period, and these very brave clinicians and researchers and families kept going with this research because they believed in the science until it got through this 20-year gap. Now I think in science these days we can work together and speed this gap up, but it is still a long delay before an idea and you can test something and it works for a whole population. What might work for one patient doesn't necessarily work for the next person, and finding something that works for everyone is important. So I talked about stem cells websites giving this portrayed legitimacy about things. So you read on stem cell sites things like therapy, and it sounds like it's already ready to go. It's organised, it's available for sale, it's regulated. The next thing is that if you have a look, and if you're looking for these sort of treatments for yourself or someone else, or you've got patients asking you about stem cell treatments, one of the things I find is a red flag is when the one cell can treat multiple disorders. Okay, so paracetamol or Nurofen can treat lots of different people, but very rarely would you expect to hear someone in the public say, I have this breast cancer, and expect them to have the same treatment as you would have for skin cancer. You would assume that the treatments are different, and that's just inside cancer. So one cell able to treat all of these different disorders at the one clinic by the one clinician, I always think that's a little bit of a red flag when you're doing your homework. They've also been used widely in the cosmetic industry, and these things are being sold with very little fact behind them. So this idea here of a facelift using stem cells, I don't even know how that's possible, but it's certainly available for sale. In addition, top class athletes, it's there in the media that they're using stem cells. Now, obviously Rafael Nadal, an elegant tennis player, but one of the world's wealthiest people, could buy any treatment he liked. There's no question he would have access to any doctor in the world he wanted. So the idea that he's buying stem cell treatment or getting stem cell treatment somehow legitimizes that this is already in the public domain as well. And that happens in Australia too. Adam Goodes was also supposed to have stem cell treatment to prolong his career. This one is my favourite. A vegan stem cell facial. First of all, it's a bargain, isn't it? $550. She looks great. But how is this possible? I mean, stem cells from skin, stem cells from bone marrow, how are they vegan? I don't know. It's beyond me. There'll be gluten-free ones soon too, so don't worry, you won't miss out. So what all of this sort of science hype does, it makes us assume that stem cells are already safe and they're already effective. Now, in those 3 disorders that I talked about, that's true, but for everything else, it's purely experimental. The work is very, very promising. But importantly, I think sometimes there's a feeling from people that we're left behind and being withheld from treatments that are known to work. That is not true.